Hello, friends. Welcome to another week of trending. It is Thursday, October 26th, about 9:45 as we're recording. It's the end of October already, dude.
Man,
Halloween's like in a couple days.
it's right. The World Series it's cranking.
Yeah.
Couple of unsung teams. You remember when we did our predictions episode way back in the
Yes.
day?
Yes.
I did not envision the Arizona Diamondbacks
Yeah.
nor the Rangers
Rangers. Yep.
being in contention. So how about it?
This is interesting. Basketball's back. Football's in full
Yes,
range. We're in a
dude.
good sport season right now.
Wemby played last night, man.
Nice.
It's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
Nice. I like it.
All right.
Okay. As always, lots going on today. I try to pick a topic where we could maybe a few things together.
Okay.
So the main story I want to talk about a little bit is a new study that came out that says that Gen Z is increasingly moving away from big cities and into rural communities, which is kind of a shakeup because millennials, for the most part, have kind of been drifting towards big cities. So the next generation is kind of doing the opposite, and they're finding themselves more and more in rural communities. Lots of reasons for that. Obviously, cost of living is a lot smaller in those rural areas. Inflation's still been really high. This generation, they're kind of used to remote work, and so they're finding the flexibility that will allow in smaller towns. So this is a pretty big shift because I think for probably several generations, there's been this move towards cities, but now the younger folks are moving to the rural. So that there's a lot of implications for that, I think. The article that I read mentioned on top of the economic incentives to go to a small town. I think Gen Z, they've just lived in a world that is just nonstop chaotic. So today, a couple other headlines. There's this shooter in Maine that they still can't find. I think at least 16 people dead, and they can't find the shooter. At the time of this recording, he's been out. And then wherever you land politically, the House of Representatives has just been bonkers lately, right? Like it's just been kind of a crazy thing happening there.
So Mike Johnson's in.
Mike Johnson's in.
From Louisiana. I heard that Susan Collins had to almost Google his name.
It's crazy.
From his political party.
It's nuts, man. Wherever you land, it's chaos over there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the Israel stuff going on. Ukraine's there is so many big, hard things happening today. There's 5, 6, 7 things that any one of them would be a lot for anybody to handle.
Mhm.
We've got a whole stack of them. So I think the article referenced that as I think the younger people just want a slower pace of life, something that feels a little less chaotic. Again, I don't blame them for that. So if you hear that more and more of the young people are moving toward smaller cities, smaller states even, what are some first things that come to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of do an aside about Ukraine. So just this morning, as you mentioned, I went to Ukraine 11 years ago. Wow,
Yeah.
it's hard to imagine.
Yep.
But I met some pastors there. Pastor Vadim, he just texted me this morning
Oh, wow.
and showed me some pictures of a small village. And he said the story behind these pictures is that this was like a funeral service where they were paying respects. And while they were having this funeral, like a Russian bomb came in and killed about everybody else in the small village. So once again, hard stuff anywhere you look, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just as surprised by this as you are. I mean, I think the United Nations predicted, and this may be old and outdated, but I remember reading at one point that by 2050 or 2070, some of those benchmark years coming up, they're expecting 75% of the human population to be living in large cities.
Okay.
So, and that might be like a global effect, maybe not just like a U.S. America effect.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's obviously some amenities in the cities. Everything's in close proximity. There's advantages of all that. Maybe some better medical opportunities are in larger cities. Businesses that, if you're in a certain industry that needs to be tethered to a lot of people, obviously it's going to be a better opportunity there. One of the profound things that we see is even in a crowded city, you can still feel loneliness. And that is an even deeper, lonely feeling.
Yeah.
To be surrounded by people, but yet still feel invisible. As I was watching, of all things, is it The Walking Dead? The zombie TV show. I think one of the things that becomes clear in season 1, I don't know if they carry the theme all the way through, but the closer you were to cities, the more danger it was. And the further, if you can get out into the outskirts, the safer it was. And I think that the writers, maybe not the comic book writers where the series came from, but maybe the television series writers, maybe they were trying to make a subtle observation.
Yeah.
that cities is where like it's kind of like the dog eat dog world abounds. And so yes, there might be opportunity, but you kind of trade in some inherent dangers to experience. Maybe danger is too strong of a word, but hazards or something like that. And so, but we lived in Atlanta, like one of the larger cities in the U.S., and we have only lived. Our family's only lived like in Wichita. Ginger went to she went to Key State, Manhattan. I lived in Columbus, Ohio when I was younger, larger city. But for the most part, like our rubric of life was suburbs. And so we were going to this big city. We're like, wow, are we going to be able to make it? Is this going to, are we going to afford anything? And I was actually quite surprised. We enjoyed all the different things going on, opportunities there. And we enjoyed it. But we still enjoy nearly any place that we've lived. So, but this is an interesting development. So I guess we'll see what happens from here.
So do you think, since obviously working at a church for people watching, most of them probably attend Ridgepoint, what for that, if there is just this sense of, the economic stuff, there's not much we can do about the economics of cost of living and whatever else. But just knowing that a whole generation of young people have this yearning for really a simpler life, and less chaos, less hustle, less busy. At least that's what some of the research is showing, at least. Is there anything that we can learn from that? Or if for us who are, a little bit older, or maybe even generations above us, how can we help care for, I just feel for the Gen Z folks, they're just inheriting a pretty messy world. It's like for those of us who are a step ahead of them with studies like this, what can we do with that? How can we help people who are feeling increasingly anxious about the world?
I think that they had some initial observations of what Gen Z was going to have to face when they came into adulthood. They were not going to be able to, and this is something that people from all over the spectrum began to anticipate about millennials. They're not going to be able to go to college and pay it off, and probably get a sizable mortgage, like a near forever home, or to grow a family, and to have kids and to be able to support that. And so I think that we knew that they were going to get all three, like maybe a previous generation or two were able to have. And so they were going to have to maybe compromise or figure out which, like a hierarchy of those. And so we do see like less marriages, less families with millennials in order to kind of do the other two. Or can I not go to college, but like try to like start my own business and like just kind of do on the job skill training, which we're seeing actually more and more people. We've talked about on training before. So like college admission is quite lower at this generation too. And so I would hope that what we're seeing, people were dunking on millennials early on, fairly, unfairly. It's up for people to decide. I hope that there could be a patience with the millennial generation, because they're trying to figure out with tumultuous economy, world events that are causing seismic shifts and changes. Where sociologists talk about the lengthening of adolescence, and so I think that hopefully what we can as a church is like have a greater patience than what we maybe were. Than what we had poised to show them beforehand. I just think we're showing this a lagging indicator that it's going to take just a little bit longer for these folks to emerge into that fully formed adulthood with like the career of their choice, a house and a place to stay, beginning to raise a family, beginning to save back, all those things. It's going to take a little bit longer. And so hopefully that we're eager to help and we have a greater patience for that development.
They'll have interesting implications for the workforce. Because on one hand, I wonder if we're beginning to see that bigger cities might start to get a little bit smaller and rural communities might start to get a little bit bigger. Interconnectedness of the internet is going to make everybody more connected. So it might make more and more sense for people to move out into the country or smaller states, smaller regions. And what will that mean for business and churches and schools? And if that trend really starts to shift, there'd be some interesting implications for every industry, honestly. So.
And we saw a trend, we particularly see it in Kansas, where post World War II, all the mainline denominations tried to build buildings and get congregations in every town. And they had plenty of clergy to fill those positions. I think what we're seeing, like in a ecclesial structure like the United Methodist Church, where they actually appoint pastors to 2 or 3 point charges. Like there's a way to kind of continue to get these congregations going. What we saw as recent as maybe 15, 20 years ago is these churches unable to get a clergy to fill like their pastor position. So they're making the choice of becoming like a online or like a extension campus
Right.
for like a life church or a church trying to expand through campus ministry.
Yeah.
We see that with like Cross Point from Hutch. In nearly every rural town in like central Kansas, there's either a campus or there was an attempt or at least a consideration of taking, insert here Baptist Church into like a Cross Point location.
Right.
And so that might be a model that we see. But I think that even though there's a lot of common things between a urban church and a suburban church and a rural church, there are some strengths and some opportunities that are different and distinct. For an urban church, what we've seen is they've tried to plant new churches in the place where like affluency and great need are close together. So that at your front door is profound need, at your back door is affluency. So you have resources to really help
that makes sense.
with some of the challenges of urban life. In suburban churches, you have busier people, mostly families. And so there's programs assembled for the whole family in mind, right? And then a place for kids to come home to if they take a job in the suburban area after going to college, right? They come back home. So is there a young adult program? Can they have community with other singles? Can they find somebody to marry and start a family together? And I think there's some strengths with that. Rural life is a different ball game for churches. Many of them have been churches for a long time. And so there's some traditions to carry. There may not be a contemporary worship service, or if it is, it's not as contemporary as one that you had in college, right? And so I think if I were a denominational leader, and if this trend is going to be sustained for the next 10 years, I think we need to go to our seminaries and say, can we prepare clergy to maybe be bivocational, take a smaller church salary, but like do something else, and so train them for that modality. And then I think what people are craving, if millennials are moving out for community and for a slower life, what does ministry in Jesus' name look like with that value in mind? And begin to work with the leadership teams of those churches and say, we have a wonderful opportunity. Like this tide is coming in. Can we get ahead of it and actually prepare a space for this to be hospitable for maybe perhaps 20, 25, 30, 40 new millennial families who can be looking for a community like ours to dwell in and a church like ours to participate in. And so I just think that that'd be something to consider for the long run. But think of the opportunity. Tim Keller, the late Tim Keller, he was a vanguard in what urban churches, what he called them global cities, what ministry looks like there. We need a thinker like that to prepare for this mission field, this opportunity for churches in the long haul, if this is going to sustain, if this is not just a flash in the pan, post-COVID type of thing, if this is really going to be something sustained, I think that we have an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
Should be like a Lead Pods episode.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will.
Something like that.
Yep. And once again, I feel like Wichita is a unique spot where we've kind of got the best of both worlds. So maybe we'll see a flux of people here. That'd be great. I love that.
Yeah, and I think what we'll see is, and we saw this with Mays and Goddard and Andover, like these smaller towns, Augusta, Valley Center, and the rest, who they were quite smaller, quite a bit of ways from Wichita, but like it grows out to them, and they've got this opportunity to plan ahead. And so look at the next cities, a little bit for like maybe Mount Hope and places like that. We have an opportunity as well that are still drivable for people who want to still work in the city, but they want to live a little further. So there could be some opportunity there.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll see. Gen Z always keeping us on our toes. You never know what those crazy youngsters are going to do.
I just think you're right. And not only because they're unique and they seem to be assertive generally, but there's a lot of them. Over 25% of the workforce now, if not more than that now, is Gen Z. Voting blocks. Now, you can't dunk on them. You can't make fun of them any longer. Like the joke's not funny. And so if you want to make some progress in your industry or your slice of society, it's best to actually take them seriously because they're becoming like the critical mass.
I think we always have a tendency to think of the next generation as kids, but they're not anymore. Like they are in the workforce, and they're making big decisions. They're making important decisions that'll affect all of us. So
yeah.
All right. Good discussion. Thanks,
Yeah,
Joe.
man.
Thanks for insight.
That was a sweet article, and kudos to Relevant. Our friends from Relevant, they take trending seriously.
Oh yeah. Hi, Cameron.
Okay. His first name.
Okay. Okay. Thanks to you for watching.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. As always, love to have you on Sunday. This Words Matter series that we just started, I'm looking forward to. So if you missed last week, Joe did a great job. You can watch online. Love to have you on Sunday.
Yeah. Pray for our Thailand team. They left yesterday at the time of this recording.
Yeah.
Doing mission there, and we'll hear back from them whenever they come back around. And then, anyways, the big offerings right on the corner. We got some really neat opportunities, like just to kind of tease that out. So, keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff coming around the holiday season. So keep your eyes open, pay attention to your emails. Hope to see you Sunday.
See you later.
Have a good one.